Hey, Henry, let me know how I sound. Okay, I think I might have been hearing myself there. All right. Let me turn that down a bit. Okay, how's it? How's it now? Let me know how this sounds. I just turned down the microphone a touch. Okay. I'm typing some stuff on the keyboard. I don't know, touching stuff on my desk, adjusting the monitor. Is this good? Yeah, okay. I'll turn it down just another tad down lower. Yeah. Okay, this is good, but let me throw on a little bit of background music or something. Oops, too much. Okay, so let me know how this is. This needs to be, a little bit of ambiance. How about now? Yeah, I mean, hold on, it's okay. Give me a sec. All right, check. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was off before. Now I see the green bars moving, so it should be good. All right, how's the balance compared to the voice? It needs to be like there and not overbearing. Cool, man. Thanks. Then I think we're good to go. All right, great. Yeah, then I think we're good. I think I'm ready to start this thing off. Cool, thanks a lot. Here we go. Okay, so hey everybody, if you're here, I'm just doing this stream to kind of help out a friend because I had my friend here who's studying art, doing game art, concept art, illustration, and also my wife, as it happens. They were recently considering working for a studio, so they wanted to apply for jobs for the first time, basically, at a studio, at a game studio. And since I have a bit of experience with that, I thought, you know, I've never seen a tutorial where somebody actually goes through step by step on how to find a job. I thought it'd be a funny idea to do that, and maybe it'll be helpful for more than those people. Maybe you're also someone who's in a similar position. Maybe you're art student or a hobbyist or freelancer, and you're considering the same thing. So I've had around 5 or 6 years of experience working in a studio or an organization that's related to art, games, and I've applied, I think, a few hundred times at least. So I can probably share just my insight and experience on how that went for me, and maybe it'll help you. So I'll also keep an eye on the chat. I'm just streaming by myself, so I may not be on top of it 100% all the time, but I'll try. All right. So if you're watching this and you have any kind of questions about anything I'm talking about or something I'm missing, or maybe you have some experience in this and you want to contribute, or maybe you just want to tell me that I'm wrong about something, feel free to jump in. All right. So this is going on Facebook and Twitter, Twitch, I mean, and YouTube, I think. So just drop me a comment or something anywhere you're watching this. So I think the first thing I would like to say, if you're considering applying for a job, it probably means you're fairly new to working, or maybe you've never worked before in a studio setting. I think the most important thing maybe to know is that it is not that scary. It's not some impossible, crazy, like horrendous thing to try to apply for a job. I mean, if you think about it, companies want you as much as you want them, because if you aren't there or people like you weren't there doing things, then there will be no company, there will be no business. So it's not like you're groveling up to some higher beings, begging them for breadcrumbs. If you see it like as more of a partnership where you have something that they want and they have something that you want, then I think that's a healthier, more balanced way of looking at it, and that should give you a good footing. For example, when it comes to considering how to negotiate salary and how to ask them questions, to figure out if the company you're interested in is actually a good fit for you. So I think that's actually that's maybe my priority now these days when I think about working somewhere is, do I really want to work there? And probably the best way of knowing this is to find a way to talk to someone who actually works at that company. There's many ways to do this. For example, there's companies that hold job fairs. They also like to appear at certain conventions like fan conventions or comic cons or game cons. There's a few of them around. And sometimes the game companies locally, like when I lived in Toronto, some indie game companies will hold this kind of mixers where they just invite people to come and exchange ideas and contact info and see if there's any teams that are looking for people to hire and anyone that's looking for work. If you go to those places, then it's really takes the pressure right off of applying for a job, which is a lot of times it's just you sitting in front of a computer. But if you go to talk to a person, you'll see that it's not some monolithic entity. A company is made up of people pretty much just like you, and you won't be so shy about asking them for things. Ask them, so what is it like to work there? Is it stressful? Do do you get to go home on time? Do they pay you well? Do they give you nice perks? Do they give you free lunch and free drinks and stuff like that? It's a really cool way to find information. And for example, my wife went to one of these mixers because she was always not so keen on the idea of working for a company. So she went to a local one here in Croatia, in Zagreb, and she just asked people that work at companies here, what kind of stuff do you do there? What are the people like? Are they nice? Are they easy to talk to? Are the bosses relaxed? Are they mean? Are they professional, for example? Or one of the most important things if you're applying for an art job, for example, is would I be happy working there? She asked them that because she's always freelanced, and she has a certain kind of style preference. Like she has fun doing some kind of art, and not so much doing other things. So she asked them, if I worked here, what would I be doing all day? And you're someone like me because you go there, you're looking for a, let's say, art job. You might get to talk to a fellow artist who's just like you, who works there, and you ask them, you can see what I do, what kind of art styles and content I enjoy doing. If I worked at the company, would I be happy there? And they straight up just told her, probably not, because you seem to like a more kind of realistic, whimsical, like fantasy style, and we mostly do things that are kind of like match 3 games, like Candy Crush, or this kind of extremely stylized, cartoony, mobile game stuff. So if you don't enjoy doing that, you might not have a lot of fun here on a day-to-day basis. So that kind of thing can be really, really important for you to know. And if you have a chance like that, find out firsthand what is it like to work in a company. Take that chance. Go to those conventions and those mixers or those job fairs and talk to the people. Another really good way of doing that, of doing a bit of research on the company, is online. There's this website I use a lot is called Glassdoor. On here, you can search for a job title, or you can search by company name. So let's say you're interested in one company in particular, or something that's close to you, for example, or one that has a good reputation, or that they make games that you like. You can go here and find out something about that company. For example, they have reviews. Yeah, companies have reviews, just like a lot of things these days, and they are left by either current or former employees. So I'll just give you an example. This is one that is fairly well known where I live in Zagreb, and they're called Nanobit. So you can come here and look at what jobs they're actually advertising for to hire. You can look at, let's say, when are they formed? What are the sizes of the companies? They give you a rough number between this and this many people. They give you a average rating of comprised of these things. Compensation, that's salary, benefits, culture and values, and things like that. So here you'll find out things, for example, how many vacation days they give. People will comment about that in the reviews. They'll say, they give the just the bare minimum, or they give you a bit of extra days if you need to. They'll tell you things about, are they relaxed about letting you have sick days, or if there's a special situation like you're having family issues, how are they about letting you work at home from time to time? So people talk about that in the reviews. And they also say, how's the salary? Salary is not as easy to find out. Sometimes if a lot of people who worked at certain companies submit data, for example, let's just try a really big game company that might have a lot of data. Oops, I'm searching job. So for a lot of companies, you can actually just find salary information, like for a job title that you search at the company and at a certain location, because some companies have multiple locations. You'll see that the average pay is this much, this and this many dollars. And that is really, really useful for you to know before you apply, because that'll come up in your interview discussion, your contract negotiations. So it's good to know that how much they're already paying. Um, One of the reasons for that is obviously you want to try to get, what you can, what you deserve. And from my experience from inside the company where I was involved in maybe some smaller ways, not directly hiring, but at least looking at candidates and giving them my assessment about their ability and stuff, I've came to know that companies, at least ones I've worked for, they would like to save money if possible, so they like to offer people less money if they can get away with it, basically, which is understandable because that's just kind of normal human behavior, I think. And if you don't know how much they are actually paying on average, for example, here is the Ubisoft data for Canada. It's average for all cities. You can kind of narrow it down if there is enough data submitted. You can see here how many data points they have, and that tells you a bit of how reliable this or how accurate this information might be. So if you don't ask them, they'll just give you a low offer, probably. I mean, it depends on the company. Some are more generous, some are more maybe, let's say, economical with their offers. So maybe they'll offer you something on the low end of the scale of your job title. And if you know that the average is quite a bit higher than that, then you're in a position to ask for something more. Or if you think that you bring something to the table that is very potentially valuable for them, then you can maybe ask for higher than the average. But it is good to know, right? And here's information about that. So it's nice to read up on this. Something else that's useful for you to also understand is the interview process. People also, for at least big companies, will discuss how the interview goes. Is it very strict? Do they pull any surprises on you? What kind of questions will they ask? How many interview passes you might go through? In my experience, for a lot of game companies, it's at least 2 or 3 interviews. You have one on Skype, just a preliminary chat about your expectations and stuff, an introduction of sorts, and then you'll meet probably the team, the immediate team members you're going to work with, the supervisors. Like if you're going to apply for art job, you'll most likely meet the lead artist, maybe senior artists, or maybe some regular artists, depending on the company. That again, and you might again meet maybe some other company, like business people or producers, or some other non-art people that maybe are like kind of tangentially related to your work from day to day, but not directly in the same department. And some companies, if they really want to find the right person, if they really want to find the perfect candidate, will go through more than that many interviews. They might go like 4 or 5. I've heard of as many as 7, 8 interview passes before you get a job. So it is good to be kind of aware of that and be prepared on what you might expect. And of course, about the reviews, I just want to point out that you need to take them with a bit of a grain of salt, because you only see what the person is saying about a company, but you don't know how that person is. Maybe some people are maybe it's a fresh grad and they're just really happy to have any job at all. So maybe they'll just be gushing pros about the company and kind of maybe ignoring any cons that they encountered. Or maybe a person is kind of jaded, or they had a personally bad experience at a workplace, and they'll just, really dig into that company and leave a bunch of cons. So you have to bear that in mind that you see the words, but you don't know the people. So don't take anything here as kind of the gospel about how the company is, but only as a kind of um, treat it as hearsay, like something you overheard. It could be potentially accurate, or it could be not. But maybe you'll notice some trends here. Like if you see that everybody's mentioning about, let's say, bad management, or everybody's complaining about how much overtime, or things like that. If there's a clear trend, then that might be a good, fairly reliable thing about a workplace. So it's a place to do your homework here. And the more you know, I think the more prepared you will be. All right. So that's these points. Are they hiring? Are they? Do you want to work there? If you go, I think the best places to know clear this question is if you meet them at job fair, because then they're obviously hiring. If a company goes through the trouble of putting people, setting up a stand at a university or at a fair or at a convention in order to find potential candidates, then they're really, really in the hiring mood, and you have no doubt about that. If they don't have a position advertised on the website or anywhere that you can find, you can still apply. A lot of companies keep open applications on hand in case something opens up later. So it can't really hurt. That's another thing I like to maybe stress to anyone who's kind of new to this, is that you can't really. There's no harm in applying at a place. You can't really. You don't lose anything except maybe the few hours of time you put in to prepare for that. No company is gonna look at a application or portfolio that doesn't meet the requirement and go like, oh, this person is okay. We're gonna make a note of this person because they don't even know how to apply to a job, and we'll make sure never to hire them. That's never going to happen, believe me, because um, company like HR people at companies, they don't. I mean, why should they bother paying attention to something like that if their mind is on finding a person who fits? So if they see something that doesn't fit, they just put it aside. It can actually be beneficial to you to submit something even though you're not sure how qualified you are, because let's say you apply to some place and a few months later you update your portfolio again and you apply to them again, and most likely they will not remember you. You're not even sure if the same HR person is going to see your application. And if they did, if it was the same person, people who are overseeing the stuff, they probably don't remember you if they've seen already dozens or hundreds of other applicants. And if they do remember you and they see that there's some improvements to your work or your experience, then that's a plus in their book. They'll see that you're somebody who is capable of improvement, of taking initiative, getting results by yourself. I think that's definitely a pro on your side. So my point is, applying to a job, there is no harm. There can only be benefit. If nothing else, then you get over the strangeness of it. If you're new to it, the more you apply, the less weird it feels, and the more natural and easy you feel about the whole process. And you don't get so nervous about it. So, if that alone can make it worth your while to go through that. So don't be afraid to apply at places. Now, of course, that is not to say you should apply willy-nilly. It's good to prepare your stuff, to improve your chances. So that's where the next section comes in. It's your portfolio and your resume. From what I've seen, people are kind of being HR people. Usually, they're the ones that see your work first, or then maybe later the lead artists at companies will see it. And most of them are pretty busy, so it's best to kind of be in their shoes a bit and help them out by just keeping your best few pieces of work. in a portfolio. I recommend, if you can, that you gather a PDF. There's a few things that you can do. You can have a PDF. Let me try to open up one of mine. Something that is rather small. So this is just a multi-page document, just a bunch of pictures. So first, let them know who you are and what job title you're going for. Make sure they're able to reach you. If they want to see more work, they can find a place. There's a lot of free online galleries these days that look really nice. Like these ArtStation is fine. Web providers like Wix or Weebly or anything like that, they always have a fairly decent looking free gallery option that you can just use and set up easily. So use something online for your work. Make sure that you include it with your stuff, and then just show some of your best work. Of course, what is best? It depends on a few things. So you see here I've organized things into categories. These are character stuff, there's environment stuff, there's mobile game stuff, there's illustrative stuff, and there's 3D stuff. So I tailored my application to kind of a mobile game studio that produces more than one style of game. So I like them to know that I'm capable of kind of a range of styles, from more stylized to more realistic, from more, like simple and plainer look to more kind of contrasty and textured and painterly look, and that I can also design humans and environment and other stuff like creatures, which is not my strong suit, so I didn't include too much here. So you have to kind of know what the company you're applying for does, or rather what kind of work you like to do. It's best to tailor what you're showing to the people, to the companies that fit, right? So I wouldn't recommend you to apply to a place where they only work on projects, or they only work in art styles that you don't like, or you feel no inclination to do, because you'll just not enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, then why are you trying to work there? I would say at least find a place, find a company that does things that interest you. So again, we're going by my example here. Every company has websites where they show you what kind of things they do. You can see their existing projects. Sometimes they announce what they're working on now or what they intend to work on later. And you just kind of decide for yourself. You look at this and say, if I was doing things like this, would I have any fun? It's pretty important that if you choose to do something, let's say full-time, that's 8 hours a day for the next 1 year, that is not something that will slowly drive you crazy, because that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help you, and probably that stress that you accumulate by doing a job that you don't care for will just rub off, on other people around you, which is no good. So try to do yourself a favor and apply to places that will make things that interest you. And then if there is some overlap, if some things that you do you think actually would be good for them, that you can contribute to what they do with your art. So let's take a look. Yeah, so you want to have a portfolio where you show them what you can do, and preferably is things that are fitting to what they already do or they intend to do. In that way, they'll look at it and see, this person does this kind of stuff, we can use that. And if they see that you can also do other cool things besides what the target art style they're doing is, that's probably a bonus. Let's say a lot of mobile game companies do more than one kind of game, or have more than one project going at once. And if you show that you're flexible and can adapt, that's always a bonus. So start with your strongest work. Actually, I would say for this portfolio that you put together, that should be, fairly small, like no more than 5 to 10 megabytes, I'd say, so you can easily send it. So it's not annoying for HR people to download and look at. Have only your best work here, and if you can, tailor them to the place you're applying to. Or if you're, in my case, I kind of just have one portfolio that I send to many mobile game companies, and I just show them the things that I like the most and I think could be an asset to a wide range of games with different styles. So I just put my favorite work of mine here that showed the best of my ability. And your website, there's a lot of work that you really like, but maybe they're not so useful for a company. I'd say just put it on your website, put it on your ArtStation, for example. And ArtStation, you can organize your stuff by categories. So you can have one place that is things you've done professionally, you made for money. You can put some other place where it's just studies and sketches you do for fun. So that here, if a company saw your concise and trimmed down portfolio and they want to find out more about you and see what else can you do, then they'll just follow the link in your portfolio or in your application email, and they'll end up here, and they'll see other things. But you don't need to. I would not like put all the things that you personally and emotionally enjoy all in the portfolio, just because, help them out, to help them see what you can do that's relevant to them first. So if it's good fit, they become interested, then they'll find out more. So they have kind of the initiative on that. All right. So resume. There's also a lot of free tools these days for resumes. So I looked around online and I found some ones that you can use for free. That's fairly well done. Like Canva.com is the one I happen to use, but you don't need to use this one. There's a few more. Like basically they just give you a nice template or a bunch of templates you can choose from. So you can see this template is broken up into elements like text, images, and you pick the one you think should be clear, I think, and legible. So all the information is easily displayed. And um, on top of that, aside from being clear and contains all the information that is relevant, like your experience, your education, maybe what kind of tool expertise you have, you can make it in a way that represents you. Like I made mine kind of cartoony and whimsical with some like handwriting fonts and a bit of color, because I think that represents me. Again, it's not a one-way communication, right? When you apply for a job, it's not just you trying to get the job. You're also kind of selecting the company, and I'll talk about that a bit more in after this topic when we talk about interviews. It's a two-way street. You want them to choose you, to judge you and select you, but you also want to choose them. And one way you do that is the way you behave, the way you present yourself. Do you present yourself as someone who is very, let's say your foremost qualities are you're responsible, you're concise, you're goal oriented, or do you want them to know that you're more like creative or more fun loving or more easygoing or something like that? So I lean towards the easygoing side. I don't want any company to even consider hiring me if what they're looking for is a robot that they can insert money and the robot will spit out tolerable pixels that they can exchange for more money. That is not the kind of thing I would enjoy. I want to be in a place that kind of has people who have fun doing what they do and um, have enjoy what they. I want to kind of put that joy in the things they're making. So I have a resume and a portfolio that's a bit more kind of whimsical and colorful because I want to be rejected and ignored by people that don't like that, by companies that are not looking for that, so that I don't have a chance of ending up somewhere where I will not enjoy my job or the people that work there. So that's why I made my resume like this. It's not to say that you need to do the same thing, but it's good to kind of examine what kind of qualities you have, what kind of things you enjoy, what kind of people you enjoy being with, and then make your resume in a style that represents you, that is true and communicates your personality to them, so that you minimize your chance of being hired by the wrong company, because that is not, you don't want, I think. Yeah, so this website happens to be quite nice. For free one, they give you lots of different templates to start with, and you can just pick one that you think is the closest to what you like, and then just go and swap the elements. It's quite easy to use. Everything is self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into depth on that. You can play with this at your own leisure. Cover letter. So usually it's good to write a word or two, or at least a paragraph or something about why are you applying at a company. What do you hope to do there? So it's not so impersonal, where you open up your inbox, you attach your portfolio, you attach your resume, and then you just click send. It's I think that the human in the human interaction really matters here. So usually I'll do something like this. So I'll just say, let's say I'll put an example here. I mean, just kind of imagine that you're talking to a real person at a place, and so what would you say to that person if you're interested in the job? You say, first introduce yourself, say hello, that's polite. Hi. I ask them how they are. You don't have to. I just find that I care about that. I act like a human being no matter where I am. I don't let the internet or the computer give me an kind of excuse to be not human anymore. But that is up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it, I think. And I'll say who I am. Actually, I'll first say I'd like to apply for a position of, whatever, insert position here, so that they know what you're doing. You're not there to do anything else except to apply for a job. And here, then I'll say something about myself. I can do this and that. I've done, maybe a little bit of about my experience and education. I've done this or that. I can't do this or that, or insert company name. Maybe I'll comment a few things about what I think I like, what I'm looking for, what I'm looking to do, what I'm looking for in a company. So this, again, is considering this whole process as a dialogue between you and another entity, another group of people, another company. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way selection process. You're presenting yourself to them so they can see if you fit them, and you're letting them know what you're looking for and observing how they are, so that you can see if they are a good fit for you. And I only recommend that you really try to go for a company or position if you find that it fits both ways. And then maybe invite them. Actually, let's call this call to action or something. Just say like, I'm free to chat or meet or to talk this further if you enjoy, or if you find that I'm a good fit. let's say it's kind of like invitation to further communication. And I usually thank them for their time, and then wrap it up. So that's how I do it. You know, this is how I would behave in real life if I went to a fair or convention and there were some people there. I'll go there, take their hand, and ask them how they are, and tell them that what my intentions are. I'm interested in this job here, and I'll tell them, what I can do, what I've learned, what I've done in the past for work, and I will ask them. I'll tell them, I would like to work for a company that are interested in doing this or that kind of thing, because that is what I enjoy and what I'm good at, and I like to work with people who are passionate or who are fun loving or things like that, so that they have a kind of an idea of what I'm expecting. And then I'll say, if you're interested, we should talk in more detail. We can chat on Skype. That is very common these days as a first step after you apply, or maybe they approach you on LinkedIn or something. Usually you chat on Skype or some kind of online meeting platform. And then if that goes well, if you find that both sides feel there is a good match here, then they'll say, okay, let's maybe you can come to the office and we'll have interview there. So these are the things I would say in real life, and I encourage you to maybe experiment with a similar process. And I guess that is as much as I can say about that. So when it comes to the actual, this part is important, like salary, which I've already mentioned that you can find salary data on Glassdoor. It's also sometimes worth Googling things like the average salary. Let's see, if you can't find precise data, you can find average salary in a country, for example. That gives you at least a little bit of a guideline on what you might expect. And there are certain trends, like if you find the average salary of a country, for example, I did this when I was applying for a job in Germany. I just looked up the average salary of Germany, and I pretty much just asked for around that much money when I applied for my job at a game company there, because I couldn't find precise data about that company or position. And it turned out that was around how much they were willing to pay for. I think I got a little bit lucky because it was a little bit extra, a little bit higher than the average, than what they were ready to pay for. But I got the feeling that they agreed to it simply because I asked, and that they didn't have a really good reason to say no, like it wasn't that far off. And so there's an anecdote here that makes it, I think, really beneficial for you if you find out how much to ask for. Around the second or third year of my work in Germany, I realized that just by accident, that some of my colleagues who are just as skilled as me and just as good at their job, maybe even better, were getting paid much less money, like, I don't know, 15-20% less salary than me. And I think it's because they didn't ask for it. I mean, I got lucky in a lot of ways. I was there early, for example. But for sure, I think you can be pretty reliable. You can rely on the fact that if you don't ask for it, they will not be so inclined to just throw it at you. But if you ask, there's a chance. So if you know how much is is kind of usual, and maybe how much a job like of your position, let's say average salary of game artist, for example, you can find a lot of stuff like this on various like statistic websites. So if you know about this stuff, you're less shy about asking. You're less worried about being, I don't know, too aggressive with your asking. And then you have a better chance at getting something that that you deserve. So don't be shy about that. I've been in a few situations where I try to talk about salary and compare them to other people, but there was some companies will straight up punish you for doing that. They'll forbid you to do that. In some places, it's not the company themselves, but just that people are awkward or shy, or there's some kind of taboo involved in discussing salary. It's maybe something like people kind of link how much money they make too closely to their personal worth, so that they don't want to create any pressure where if they find out that somebody else makes more than them in the same position, they will feel emotionally troubled by that, and that might affect their work or daily life or something. That is possible, but in my mind, it is kind of refraining from discussing salary only helps. It doesn't help anybody. It only helps the company save money, because if nobody knows how much they should get paid, especially if it's a new person, like somebody with little experience, maybe a fresh grad or something like that, or a newly trained professional or something, they'll just they'll just take what they can get. They'll take whatever offer they get, and they're kind of afraid to ask for more. They're afraid to ask other people how much they could get because of the aforementioned taboo, and then you just end up losing out on an opportunity to get a bit more. So, I mean, it's not crucial or anything. I'm just sharing my experience. I feel like when I found out that other people were getting less, or they don't, if there's maybe some new people who are applying, I will, if there's like a proper opportunity or channel, I'll let them know, like, this is average, this is to be expected. So I'd like to give people information so that they can decide based on, they can make an informed decision and not kind of be in the dark and hoping for the best. And this part is this part is also really really important. Is that if you have a chance to find out what kind of people are at a place, at a company, or in a team, that is really helpful, because I think a lot of your quality of life at a workplace can be affected really dramatically by the kinds of people that that work there. As there's a lot of things that companies can do to kind of make your life a little bit easier. Is particularly among game companies in Europe. They really are quite generous, in my experience, with giving you perks like free snacks, free coffee, free drinks, company gatherings, parties, maybe giving you chances to go conventions or to workshops, stuff like that. And those things kind of all help a little bit in making you, in kind of relieving your work stress a little bit. But I think the most stress you will either get from a workplace or will avoid is if you get along with the people there. If there are people there that are like you, that are a good fit with your particular personality and qualities. Although that is a little bit more tricky, I think maybe the easiest way to do that is just, like I said earlier, go to conventions or job fairs and try to meet those people and talk to them and get a feel for that. Some companies will agree to a request to do a tour for their studio, especially for students. They, I think you'd have to find that out on an individual basis. You could, sometimes they will maybe announce it on the website that they have they permit those tours or they organize them, or you can email them and say, do you allow someone who's interested in a, a job there to come and meet the team, for example. And it depends heavily on the company. I can't really say if there's any what your odds are, but it's like applying for a job. It can't hurt. You can't. There's nothing to lose there. They're not gonna think that you're weird or something. Even if they don't allow it, they'll just say, sorry, no, we don't do that. And then you say, oh well, okay, thanks for taking the time to answer. If they do, then that's great. You can go and get a feeling for the people there and place, the environment. Does it look like a fun place to be 8 hours a day, or does it look very, is it really vibrant and cool, or is it industrial and kind of sterile, or maybe you like that kind of aesthetic. You don't know until you go and try to find out. Basically, that's the point. All right. So I think that's all the things I pretty much consider when I apply for a job. Consider if I want to work there. Now, in my case, I like to point out that anything I'm saying here is not a categorical answer. I hope you're not here to kind of expect any easy answers like if this, then do that. I find that there's not that many of those in life. A lot of these things apply to me because of my particular sets of experience and encounters. If they may not apply to you. For example, when I consider this, do I want to work at a company? I don't really these days care so much about what kind of game or art style they're making, because I'm pretty much okay doing most of it. If I get a job and they think I can do it, then I'll just do it. Because I can just have fun with different kind of things. I don't need to do a particular subject matter or style to be fulfilled. But I'm just like that. Excuse me. And if you're not like that, then you better do your homework and find out, answer this question for yourself. Look on the website, look up job fairs in your area, look if there are any mixers the companies are throwing. Go find a list of all the game companies. That's how I did it the first time around when I just graduated from art school. I found a list of every game company in the world. Okay, maybe not the world, but let's say North America, Europe. There are a few hundred companies, and I just applied to every one that I thought were making something that's semi-interesting to me, that I could potentially work at. So I sent a few hundred applications. This is easy to find. And even the ones that don't, if I like what they're doing, if I feel kind of a connection to what they're doing, I'll just apply. Most companies, I think, don't mind getting open applications. Prepare your portfolio. Put something that is relevant, that is really high quality. Don't stuff it too much. I think with all the things you like, try to give them what they're looking for, and then put the rest in your online portfolio in somewhere else and link it to them, so that whoever is interested in you by your first impression of your work, they can find more if they want to. Resume, resume makes an impression too. So make something that take advantage of all these free online tools. Make something neat, make something nice. Put some effort, because presumably this matters to you if you're researching it. So show that you care about what you're doing. You put yourself into what you're doing, and show that you put yourself in what you're doing. So let your resume and your portfolio reflect you. Don't be afraid to show people and companies how you're like. Salary, make sure you do your homework if you want to get the most. If you don't mind, more or less. Sometimes I don't mind. I just want to, let's say, if I could work at a company that I think really has a good vibes. They're putting out really things that make people happy, that are really beneficial to society. For example, I don't mind getting paid less to work there, but it's good to know, right? To make informed decisions. And there's places you can find that easily if you don't know. So Glassdoor, Googling salary data from other like pay scale, and sometimes going to conventions and fairs and talking to other people who have more experience. For example, I don't mind getting questions from students or other artists if they want to know about something that I have experience with. I'm pretty happy to just answer a few questions here and there. Some people maybe don't want to get unsolicited contacts online. That I can't speak for them, but I don't think it can hurt to ask other people, especially in good faith. You know, if you just want to know something, you're curious. Um, I say it can't hurt to ask, and try to consider the people. You know, you're the whole time you're interacting with the company anyway. You know, whether through their HR or talking to their recruiters at a fair or interviewing with the art team or the producers or the CEO or whatever. Consider how it makes you feel to interact with these people, and do you actually like that? Do you actually tolerate that or enjoy it even? Do you hit it off, basically? And if you don't, then I really would consider, you know, why do I not feel good about the people here? Do I really, subject myself to this for the next 6 months or a year or 5 years? You know, who knows? Okay, I think that's pretty well all the things I wanted to cover. So yeah, if you have if you learned something here, or if you benefited in any way, I'm happy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm on Facebook. Not very often. I'm on Messenger mostly. I have a Discord that I'm on all the time. So if you want to get in touch or anything like that, feel free to jump on there. I'll see if I can. I'll just throw that up on here. I forgot how to Discord. Give me a sec. Right, here it is. That is, don't add me here. That's probably the best way to reach me. And also, yeah, feel free to comment on the video if you have any questions. So I'm happy to help out, because I've been there. I know it can be a little bit bewildering, a little bit stressful. So if I can help alleviate some of that for you, that makes me happy. All right. So have a good, whatever day it is, Tuesday, people, and see you around.